You're listening to The Angry Designer, where we cut through the industry bull to help frustrated graphic designers survive and thrive.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salute.
All right, tonight we are. Oh, wow, that smells great.
Isn't that awesome?
Wow, I just got really excited there. We're trying something new here called Brothers Bond, and apparently it's award-winning. I just have never seen it before. It's the first time we got it up here.
Yeah.
And it's distilled and crafted in the tradition of all great bourbon.
This is one of
Brothers Bond.
This is one of your up north finds.
This is the one of the finds that I went up north, and all of a sudden it's like in the middle of nowhere. There was like, wow,
Yeah,
all
all
these
these
new
great-
bourbon
Well,
finds.
let's hope it's good.
Smells good.
Wow.
Whoa. Wow, it's so wow. It's like so smooth. There's just a little bit of like aftertaste. It just kind of rolls on your tongue.
That's really nice.
Dude, and this thing was won all these awards. Look at this. A gold winner, a 96 for the Cigar and Spirits. Wow. Tasting
love a
panel,
cigar
best
with this.
bourbon Rolling Stone magazine.
Oh.
Well, I'm liking this Brothers Bond. Even
Yes.
Sean, you're my brother. We're bonded over
We're
this one,
bonded.
bad boy.
That's right. We're
Check
bonded.
this bottle out, guys. Like, that's pretty cool, right? You
is
see some
sexy.
corn growing in the middle there. But anyway, wow.
That's
Very
really
impressed
good.
with this
yeah,
one.
I like that. Nice. Let's hope it makes its way down south here to southern
To
Ontario.
southern Ontario, right? South Central.
South Central, yo.
South Central Ontario. Sounds so badass.
It does.
Dude, you know why it's badass?
Yeah, why is that?
Have you seen our lakes and the conditions of that lakes?
I
Okay.
know.
South Central lakes,
Disgusting.
man. You guys on the East Coast and the West
Yeah,
Coast, you got
that's-
nice
yeah.
clean oceans. You should come see what Lake Ontario
That's
looks
right,
like. And you see how tough we are.
Just don't wear your blue or red.
Yeah. Oh shit. All right. So speaking about Canadian,
Yes.
and it looks like there is a Canadian lager that has gotten a new logo.
Oh, good old
Check this
Moosehead.
out, eh? Good old. You want to talk about Canadian lager? Look at this. A before and after. You guys are on YouTube. You'll be able to see this. But I mean, you know, thanks to Under Consideration for actually putting this up on their website. I mean, this one's a tough one because Moosehead has been around forever,
Yeah.
right? And this has been traditional Moosehead. I'm like, you know,
Yes.
it's got that old look and feel to it. This just doesn't feel, I mean, the logo itself doesn't feel like a lager anymore. It doesn't feel like beer. It's cool. You know, they did that, like, you know, they minimized the color, minimized the artwork. The artwork's beautiful, but it seems like something's missing. And then when I scroll down and look at some of these other beautiful images that they put on this site, I mean, that's pretty classic looking as our old Moosehead, right? And then we kind of see how it looks on the new. And I you know, I don't know, maybe it just takes time to get used to. It doesn't feel like Moosehead,
Yeah.
right? It's beautiful.
It's really nice.
Doesn't feel like where I don't see enough of the connection other than the fact that it's a moose head.
Yes. yes.
I mean, okay, hey, good for you for getting that part of the whole puzzle, right? But I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not in love with this. I mean, it's beautiful, the execution, but again, it
Yeah.
just
It looks really nice. And that see, this is the thing. It's like we got retro versus retro here.
Kind
Because
of,
that
yeah.
round beer, I remember my grandfather and they would have the beers with the round label on
OV
it.
used to have
But
that.
even further back than that was the one on the left there with the flat.
Yeah, and
square
you know,
label.
and this flat square, like, I mean, that just
And the
feels so
division
Canadian.
of the two.
It's
Oh,
tough,
that's-
dude.
Look at that can.
Like, again, the can looks
Wow.
great. It does, and the image is great, but it just, I don't feel that connection. So this one might take a little while for,
Yeah.
you know, again, it's beautiful execution, but I
Yeah.
just don't know if they've nailed the brand right. Like, again, it looks, if they were looking for something completely new,
Yes.
right? Bang on. They
Yeah.
did a great job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, like it's kind of it's interesting. Again, beautiful. Just no, I don't feel that tie-in or the love to the Moosehead brand. Like,
Yeah.
you know, this is a brand that we've been drinking since like high school
Since we were
and
kids,
college,
that's
right? So I don't know.
What do you think?
Interesting.
What do you think about the logo that's not in an arch, not arced, like the Moosehead going straight?
Oh,
across-
going straight versus how it used
like
to
the
be,
text.
right?
I think.
Well,
I think the text is nice.
well, yeah, the text is beautiful.
The font.
But again, I don't feel any sort of connection to the old. So it feels so different, almost too different for me, right? Like if I was a big Moosehead drinker, I would have an issue with it. I probably would, because it doesn't feel like an evolution. It almost feels like an overhaul, as we described it a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Like it's again, good job. They still used a Moosehead. But other than that, like it's not even the same Moosehead. It's a different Moosehead, different style.
Yeah.
So it looks cool and slick. I just don't feel like it's kind of the right evolution. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, but the rollout is great. And again, the rollout is cool. And I mean, I guess that's what we're here to kind of talk about is, I mean, again, they've redone their logo, I guess if you want to call it. And I went online today and I saw this post that said, you know, updated logo pricing for 2023. And I'm like, oh, fuck, let me see this.
No, this ought to be good.
This is going to be great, right? And just so everybody's aware, updated logo pricing for 2023 is on the low end, $300. On the high end, $1,500. And if you're an agency, that could go up to $2,000. It's just, who wrote this? Like...
Somebody who's not getting what he's worth.
Right. Like, and that's exactly it. That, I think that article, and that wasn't the only one like that. There was a few that were that fucking ridiculous.
Wow.
It was ridiculous because, I mean, but I think that kind of sums up what we're here to talk about today, because again, there are so many misconceptions, you know, in the industry and with designers on logo prices, the shit that we read, the shit that people say. I mean, it kind of pisses me off, right? And the reason why it pisses me off is I think nobody's really done a good job on trying to help designers figure out how the hell to charge for a logo, because there's no two logos are alike, no two companies are alike, no two designers are alike.
This is true.
Right?
Yes.
So, you know, and again, and I personally feel that designers are leaving so much on the fucking table.
Clearly, right? if that's the pricing scale, imagine some poor young guy going, "Oh my god, I'm gonna charge this guy $300 for his logo. Oh, I'm sweating bullets. What if he says no?"
I'm sorry if you guys are going through that, but So okay, so we're going to talk about why they struggle. You know, we're here to talk about things to consider when pricing, how we break things down in pricing, and it has worked for us, right? Because again, it's often, you know, there was a point where even we were guessing at one point until we kind of figured out a system.
Yes.
And then I feel weird doing this, but I actually got 3 different examples of how we priced out customers dollar for dollar. So you can see exactly what we charged. 3 very different customers.
But I was looking at that too, and without giving anything away, they're very different scenarios, right?
Exactly.
Which is exactly what you're talking about. This is not like some people online are saying you charge this much for a logo and that's it.
I know, dude.
But no, there's too many variables involved with this kind of stuff. Depending on the company.
Exactly. Too many variables.
Yes.
And I think that's why designers struggle with this, because nobody ever is clear. Everybody gives them big pep talks and how much they charge and what they do, but you know, like, and how to charge appropriately, but nobody actually breaks it down in an easy to understand manner. That at least, so it's like, you know, and I'm not going to be like, okay, for the first 5 hours, charge this, and the second, but I mean, we have a formula that works for us, and then, you know, and why it works. And that's what we'll talk about. Right.
Yes.
But I mean, in general, I think it's safe to assume that designers struggle with pricing logos because lack of fucking information out there, you know, of accurate information on how to break this shit down, which kind of, you know, is a little frustrating. Possibly lack of confidence.
Yeah, totally.
And this isn't because you guys suck by any means, right? It's when you love doing something, how the hell do you charge for it?
You and I both have had stories of $20 logos.
Right? And I loved it.
I know. And it doesn't matter. You did it because you fucking loved it. But yeah, you're like, what the hell was I thinking back in the day?
And even when we talk to Alan Peters, right? Like he, you know, for his price, he does like 50 logo concepts because he loves what he does and he's proud to show it all, right? So, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, as a designer, it's hard to put a price and a value to something you love doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's a little confidence factor there, right? You know, difficulty communicating value to customers. Okay. And this part I hate online because everybody keeps going on about, well, you need to sell them the value that the logo is going to bring to them. And I mean, that is such, it might be true, but that's a hard thing to try to convince somebody, listen, Mr. Restaurateur, you need to charge me $10,000 or I need to charge you $10,000 for this logo and you need to approve it because it's going to make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Your food's going to fucking taste better. Customers are going to come in now because only the logo, not you, your reputation.
Your food, secondary.
Like, it's hard. Not everybody values a logo separate.
That's right.
The same,
That's
right? So, I mean, trying to sit there and, communicate the value of it, again, it's different for everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, we're constantly seeing this competitive pricing, like a race to fucking zero.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah.
If the going rate is 300 to 1,500, apparently the 2024 is going to be like $25. Like,
you'll be paying the company to do their logo.
It's you're seeing all these prices out there, and again, there's so many variables, right? People are putting a price on the wrong part of the whole process, right? So again, you're not really sure how to understand this competitive pricing and what people are saying online or on YouTube or this or that, right?
Right.
So the pricing sucks. And again, there's always a challenge trying to educate the customer with value, which we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. That's always difficult. And I mean, that kind of that goes like with our buddy Alan Peters. I mean, that guy throws 50 fucking logos at you. Wow, that's value, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Or if you're going to just go there, like some kids that we've read, they just present one logo.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a thing right now too.
What's the perceived value from the client on that?
Right?
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We've got some people on Instagram that I follow, and that's what they're trying. And it's for some people it works, other people it doesn't.
Good.
And again, so good on them if it works.
Yeah.
And it works for them. Everybody has some sort of different system, right? But again, there's challenges of I guess there's just a challenge of educating people how to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's something why the designers struggle so much. And then of course a lack of understanding on how to properly price a logo.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that is probably the biggest what's the word? I mean, I think that's the part that's missing in almost all of this. Well, kind of, it is. It's like a brick wall. Because again, when you hear people online get all these huge fucking fees, right?
Oh my God.
You're like, well, how am I going to do that,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what I mean.
I want to go to there.
Exactly, right? Like when you hear like BP paid $211 million fucking dollars for a new logo, you're like, holy shit, I'm only charging $300. How the hell am I going to get to the next plateau just by, and again, it's just, it's that when people are putting these huge figures and they're not saying how they're getting there, why they're getting there, it stresses the fuck out of people.
This is true.
Right? And we went through this for years, and I know other designers that go through for years. I break it down for them, and it helps them across the board, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, when you hear BP 211 or Accenture logo, $100 million for an Accenture logo, right? The BBC logo,
Yes.
$1.8 million for a font change. And and Pepsi's old logo, that really shitty one, $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Like this shit stresses people out. Or even worse, and this is the part that I don't like, when certain, YouTube celebrities, or they're posting videos and they're like, well, I charge between $25,000 and $50,000 for a logo. And it's just like, dude, shake your head. No, you're not. Okay. If you can be like, here you go, customer, here's one logo, 50 grand, and they pay for it, good.
Yeah.
Good. But I mean, again, people are losing sleep over this because they're not getting that money for a single logo. And that's the misconception that I think is really stressing out designers, right? It's this idea that people are paying for a single end product and nothing else.
Yes.
And again, I think that's the bullshit in all of this.
I think you're absolutely right, because when we were doing research for that website design, the redesign we were doing, you gave BP as one of the examples.
Yep.
I'll bet that kind of was rolled into the logo.
Oh,
rollout.
shit, dude.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just
Absolutely.
not $201 million or whatever.
Well, it's not. I
$211
can
million.
reassure you that is just, that's okay. That $200 million, that $100,000, even for those fucking designers who say they're $25,000, $50,000, that's for a rebrand project.
Yes.
It's something much bigger than a single logo. Like even someone like, Alan Peters, who does logo marks.
Yeah.
He doesn't just hand over a single
logo
I know. And be like, here you go.
Try
You're
that.
off, right? You see what he does. He does everything, how it plays out, where it plays out, how it looks on hats, how it actually, like he builds an entire fucking system, let alone anything else that he's not posting on Instagram on there. So I think people need to, fucking pump the brakes a bit on this whole bullshit about, logo design, because again, nobody's getting that kind of dollar, unless somebody absolutely wants to work with, a superstar, and they'll pay whatever they want just to brag about, using that one logo. But, even the whole Steve Jobs and Paul Rand situation, he handed over not just a single logo, but a whole fucking system on how to use it, where to use it, when it's placed in this. So that's a much bigger system than a single logo.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I figured, we'll break this down a little bit, right? And with all things considered, no matter if you do charge a single price for one logo final product, or you have a system or a process in place, there's always going to be different factors that a designer needs to consider when pricing a logo. And this can be the same product, but different factors, across the board. Okay. And this will always change. Obviously, an obvious factor you have to take into consideration is time and energy. Okay.
Yes.
How much effort is it going to take? But that goes without saying, right? And you have to make sure that you're going to at least charge enough to cover your overhead, your time, and all that. That just goes without saying, right? But a huge factor, of course, is the client, okay, and the type of client, right? Are they a new customer? Are they a new business? Are they an established business, right? Are they a small company, a large company, a small little retail shop, a large, B2B distributor or something, right? The client plays a huge factor that you always have to take into consideration.
Yes.
Okay? Because that's a huge part of this. And the funny thing is some customers just want a small price for something, right? Some customers expect to pay something large just because they have marketing people that appreciate this and understand what goes behind this whole other side of the world, right? This whole other, the rebrand part, right? So huge factor. The industry makes a big difference, right? So again, if it's in the medical industry, right, they're used to paying bigger bucks because there's a lot more that goes involved when it comes to, logo projects, brand projects, rebrand projects, right? Where again, if it's like a small little, mom and pop shop, a florist, right? They're not looking for. That's an odd choice. Why did you say florist?
First thing that came to my head.
Well, that's very pretty, Shawn.
I'm feeling all hippie today, I guess.
But it's true, though. You're absolutely right. And the funny thing is, okay, if it's a local florist, but what if it's a flower distribution company?
Okay,
the bigger, chain-wide flower distribution network, right? So again, the industry that they're in, right? And so it's the customer in the industry and really plays a huge factor in, the price of what you're going to charge for a logo, right? And we'll say logo for now, just for argument's sake, right?
Keep it simple,
Geography. Okay. Because, an area like where we are right now here, right? Kitchener-Waterloo, hot tech town, right? They'll be used to paying a certain price.
Yeah, a little more.
Go to Silicon Valley. Okay, that rate quadruples, and you have to recognize that. Even if you are a Silicon, you are in Kitchener-Waterloo serving a Silicon Valley customer, they're going to have different kind of pricing expectations.
That's right.
Okay, so again, where the geographic location of where the customer is makes a huge difference. Of course, your experience plays a huge part in this, right?
This is true.
If you're just 1 to 3 years, have a couple logos underneath your belt, 1 or 2 big companies, or if you've been doing this for 20, 25 years and you've got a huge portfolio and, a variety of different customers, that plays a huge factor in this, all right? Your expertise. Okay, I keep going on about this, but are you an expert in a certain area, right? Have you niched down? If you niche, you can charge a premium for virtually everything you do, especially logo design. And on the flip side, because you are that expert, you don't need the ramp up time either. So you're almost getting it on both ends. So,
well, that's great.
Big fan of niching, of course. And then, of course, this whole idea of value and impact you bring to the business. Okay. Is the logo itself going to make a huge difference to a business? Well, the logo mark itself maybe not a value-wise, but if you take that and you put it across signage, social, internally, you execute it, you throw it on packaging, all of a sudden the greater impact of that piece has more value to the business than just like, it's just a sign in front of our shop and that's as far as it's ever going to go.
Think of that. Think of the Nike swoosh. If that was just a sign on the door.
Yep.
What would that be?
Right. Exactly. Right.
But because the marketing clout behind it really kicks ass, then it becomes something, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a huge part, right? So it's just how far is it going to go? How far is that reach going to be on that product? Okay. Yeah. And then, of course, last but not least, the part that nobody fucking tells you about, okay, is the scope of work thereafter. Are you just handing out a flat logo and that's it?
One and done,
one and done. Yep. Here's your EPS file. Here's your PDF.
See ya.
JPEG. I'm done. If you are, shame on you.
You're leaving a lot on the table, kids.
So much, right? To me, that's the most important part of this whole process. Okay, and this is the part that nobody ever fucking tells you, right? Because when they're giving you these, like BP. $211 million, that wasn't for a fucking logo. They redid every fucking gas station so imagine what that cost would be.
This is the thing.
It's a whole new brand, every pump, every sign, inside, outside, right? Pepsi, right? All the cans that they had to overdo with the new logo, right? The Accenture logo, right? What was that one? Systematic, I think, was the one company that they also said they cost $1 billion because in order to get the check mark, Semantic.
Oh, Semantic.
The Semantic, right? With the check mark. The joke is it cost them over $1 billion because they had to buy the other company and use their check mark on their own logo. But again, it's the rollout material in that case. It isn't just the fact that somebody sat down and designed a logo, right? So that's why, that's a huge part on this whole process that nobody ever talks about. Right? They're always like, oh, I charge $25,000 to $50,000 minimum for a logo.
That's exactly it. But they're not saying what the hell
else has been done to it,
delivering.
Right?
Yes.
So a little misleading, unfortunately, and I don't like that. And I do think the terminology needs to change a little bit, right? Because again, people are saying, they keep throwing the word logo. I charge this much for a logo. But let's face it, a logo is just a logo mark is a part of a bigger brand, right? The brand identity system to make, to get even more, like tight on this one, right? So there's a lot more elements on this that you have to take into consideration, not just the mark itself.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's the part that really, it pisses me off when I see that because that's all you see online is how much to charge for logo, but nobody tells you.
Nobody says what else.
What else? What else is involved
with that? Which is kind of shameful, especially if I think it's the guy that you're talking about, because he's kind of pretty militant about stuff like that and charges a lot of money. And you're like, and he's pretty harsh on people that he talks to.
But he's not telling the full story.
Saying the whole thing.
Yes, and I think that's the shame, and that's what people need to understand. So don't get stressed out if you're charging $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 for a logo, and you're like, wow, why are these people charging $15, $20, and they're telling me I have to raise my fucking rates? Because again, there's a way around this. Okay, so what's worked for us and how we have always priced out. Okay, so zfactor. It's not the only way to do it. But this is what we've done, and it helps us every single time on pricing out projects. Okay, and I will give you exact examples. Okay, three very different examples at the end of this. So stick around for that. Right, but we have 3 parts to pricing a logo, not one. Okay, so 3 parts. I wrote this all down. Okay, so people tend to they just have a habit of looking at part 2 of this whole process. They have a habit of just looking at the final logo and be like, you charged how much for that? Like that only took how many hours to do? And this is even customers sometimes when they have that backlash, right? It's always on that one part. But there's 2 other really important parts that go before and after. So our approach here, okay, is 3 parts. Part 1, R&D. Part 2, the pitch. And part 3, the rollout. Okay. Now you'd think, well, duh. Yeah. Of course, that's what's always involved, right? But not really. And not everybody does this the same way. Okay. So of course the R&D, the research and development part, right, is everything you do up until the logo. Okay. Sometimes that's nothing more than just doing a quick internet search, maybe get some inspiration, something light and easy. But depending on the customer, the product, right, it could be much bigger. There could be a lot more in-depth information, right? And depending on how big and full your agency is, that could include fucking focus groups and a lot of other really unnecessary, bloated type of stuff to this, right?
Right.
Then, of course, number 2 is the pitch. This is when you physically design the logo, the hands-on, the hours, whether it's one person, agency, pulled together, have something final to pitch to the customer.
Right.
You do your revisions, and you hand that over. That's often the cheapest part. If you think about hours wise, that's often the smallest amount of work thereafter, which people don't realize.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, this is true.
and then you've got the rollout, or what you do after the logo. So this is anything you do, you collected, you pitch, you build out thereafter. Okay. Right. So this isn't the case for all customers, of course, and this isn't the case for all projects, but being aware of all 3 of these parts will help you comfortably quote a logo project, because you know what you're in for. Okay, because then you can compare. So again, it's more valuable to understand this process, and this is why for us it's worked, right? Because you understand 1, 2, 3, and how all 3 of these things come up to the final price. But they don't necessarily, they're not equally weighted across every single brand job, logo mark job, and they're not equally weighted for every single project, right? So again, it just helps you get a better idea of if you are actually charging right. Okay. So number 1, the lead up. Okay, which is the research and discovery part, right? So this is everything from, in-depth research. You do your deeper competitive analysis, right? You can get your brand audit. This is when you go in and start reviewing what they have already, right? And again, dig deeper into the brand, right? To me, this is the most valuable part in this whole process, because the deeper you go, of course, right? And deeper you look at the company, their brand, the more potential flaws you find, okay? And the more, problems you start to uncover. Exactly. Okay. So to me, that's money. Okay, it is, right? Because again, somebody comes to you and is like, we need a new logo because sales are down and obviously it sucks. And it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at this and see.
Why?
Right?
Why is that?
Why?
Is it because your logo?
Yeah, right? Well, and again, your logo is the cause of all this? Fuck. If it was only that easy, right? So again, this is where, you start digging deeper and finding out what their competitors are doing versus them, right? Is their messaging lacking? Is their website lacking? Or, does the logo look like it's 1970s? And is it literally the reason, or is it the fact that their product sucks? Right. So this is the opportunity to dig deep into the product. Okay. And then you'll start discovering anything else that could be added to thereafter. Okay. So now you have got all this valuable information from part 1. Okay. This is going to help you part 2. Now, if your logo project is a local flower shop, chances are you're not going to spend a ton of time here in part 1. You might spend very little time. You might do an internet search, check out the other florists locally, ask what they do different. That might be enough, right? However, if you're dealing with a giant manufacturer or a global brand or, a big tech company, you may want to dig a little deeper. So this is what I mean by they're not equally weighted. Okay. They're important for the whole process, but they're not equally weighted. Okay. So, in one customer, it might only take me, a morning's worth of work to get all the research I need. Other customer, it might take me weeks and weeks, right? Depending on how deep you go. Then you got number 2, which is the pitch, right? And I say the pitch, but really this is what you do to prepare for the pitch. This is when you sit down and start coming up with all the concepts, when you actually start digging deep and, putting, your mouse to computer, pen to paper, however you do this, and you start coming up with all the concepts. And honestly, this generally is like, the least amount of hours in a lot of cases, right? Because a lot of times, the bigger the company, the more research and discovery you're going to have to do. Smaller companies. So again, you might spend hundreds of hours in one place where this might only take you 50 hours, might only take you 30 hours, 20 hours, depending on how good you are in your process, right? So again, this is, includes your design, your concepts, the presentation deck, right? This is, everything goes together at this part. Okay. And then once you do that pitch, once that's all done, you have part 3, which is then the rollout material. So this is where the money is. And this is where people leave it on the table. Okay. You've got all this awesome information you've learned from the first phase. This is when you start pitching and making more recommendations thereafter. Once you've got the logo, this is the rollout material thereafter that's important that you have to bring up, you know, pitch, include, add thereafter, right?
Yeah.
This is when it goes from a single logo to now a brand identity system, right? A design system. This is when you start re-outfitting everything, not just the logo, right? Because people often don't know how much further this has to go to develop the brand. Because the brand is the bigger picture. And that's why often when people are just coming in asking for a new logo, right? Well, if you're just giving them a new logo, you're not thinking of the bigger picture.
Yeah,
right?
you know,
the brand. And again, this is, you know, part one gives you all this data that you need, okay, to take to this phase and start rolling it out. And this is how projects go from a $1,500 logo to like $150,000 logo, because now your logo has uncovered all these other issues. You're building a bigger brand identity system. You're building website to go along with it, new social media campaign, new brand guideline, and all of a sudden it's just exploded just based on, you know, all that research. So again, and this is really important, like Michael Beirut did this MIT Labs job, right? And I love watching his Google presentation, okay? Like he did, you know, if you want something really interesting to watch, right? Go online, find, you know, Michael Beirut's MIT Labs, you know, logo redo. And he did this, he pitched it to logo, right? And breaks it all down. And, you know, the first thing is, you know, the very first go with this, they didn't like. They didn't like his first idea. I thought it was pretty cool. Didn't like it. The second one, though, right? He came up with this monogram, okay? This ML monogram, okay? Which is fine. And on its own, sure, it's kind of cool. I get it. Great. Done, right? But what he did, so he did a monogram to serve them fine, to show up, you know, to show this Media Labs, the MIT Media Labs, right? But then what he did is he created this underlying grid for this monogram. Okay. And then he's like, look, you think this monogram's cool. Let me show you what else it can do. He shows this grid and he all of a sudden comes up with all these other visuals,
dozens
based on this grid for the other 23 departments at MIT. So all of a sudden his project went from this one single thing to this entire design system, right? You know, he like a whole branding system, and it was all based on the research that they found. Right. So again, that project, you know, went from just like a small project to this just huge brand overhaul. And then it went to like t-shirts and how it can be used here and there. So you know that wasn't because somebody came up to him and said, hey, I'll give you 50 grand for a logo. It was probably like, I'll give you like $2 million to re-outfit the entire thing. And that's what he did. Right? Exactly. So this is why it's extremely important. So you take these three things into consideration, okay, and you start applying it to different logo projects. And this is how you start to realize, am I going rich on this project? Am I going too lean on this project? So we gave the example of Shawn's Florist. And again, Shawn's Florist might only need, you know, a morning's worth of hours, right? Like for the research and development part. Fine. You know what I mean? Chalk that up. We'll just say, hypothetically speaking, to like $400 if you're a freelancer, right? $300 for a freelancer. Then you do the logo. Okay. Okay. You give them a logo, you hand it over. Your logo then is what? We'll just say for shits and giggles, $1,000 if you're a freelancer, maybe $1,500. Okay.
I think that's good.
If you're foolish, you stop there. But the reality is they're going to need more material thereafter. You can give them that logo, they'll take it, they'll go to the print shop and get them to design their business card. Then they'll go online, find somebody to put it to their social media crap, right? This is money that you lost. This is your opportunity to upsell on the third stage of this, right? Because again, if you're just going in and redoing that logo number 2, and they're like, nope, I just want you to take this flower, this font, put it together, fine. Then you can just charge that $1,000 in the middle, and you walk away from it. Shit, at that point, $500 if they're going to tell you what they want.
This is true.
Actually, if they're going to tell you what they want, you should charge them $2,000.
Should be more.
But what I'm saying is, you know, like if you don't need much price number 1, and there isn't going to be much follow-up material, then you know that middle part, that price there, you know, you're not going to be so bad. Would you be happy with $1,500 for doing a day's worth of work, slapping some logo ideas together, right? Some logo mark ideas. That wouldn't be so bad. However, if you have the opportunity to take that to another level, to grow something bigger, well, you know, do their signage, do their business cards, come up with a thank you card, you know, come up with the wrap that goes around all the flowers they send out, do their bags, do this, do that. All of a sudden,
vans. I mean, think big. Think
big,
Yeah.
all of a sudden that one logo project can turn into a whole identity system that
Yeah.
for a freelancer
Yeah.
could end up growing now to $5,000. 6,000, even 10,000.
Right.
So now when you're sitting here telling people, oh, I got paid $10,000 to do Shawn's flower logo for his shop. Well,
Wait a minute. How did I get the shop?
I'm never letting you live that one down, buddy.
So what? I want to be a florist.
It's very pretty. But I mean, you've just all of a sudden grown the job and you can say, I just charged that flower company 10 grand for a logo.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true.
Yes.
But neither is the shit that they're telling you online. But
This is
now
true.
you understand how they come to those prices.
Exactly.
Okay. So that I think is the key to this whole thing. Number one, understanding what the hell people actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even at the very least, if they're saying, nope, it was just 20 grand for a logo. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you're not handing over just an EPS file for 20 grand and walking away.
If you're doing that, holy shit.
Good on you.
Yes.
And hey, if you are, props to you for
Yeah.
that. But I mean, again, you've got a whole bunch of, they're handing over a brand guide with that.
Yes.
A usage guide for that. So even if they're premium price because they're a celebrity and they're not doing anything else other than the logo itself, there's still more deliverables to that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And back to that too, as an upsell, I mean, I think most people would be interested in hearing that, because at the very least, they're going to be aware that, oh my God, I have a whole lot of shit to do with this new logo.
Yep.
I don't want to do this. I don't have any time to do this.
Yep.
Can you do this?
Yeah.
You know
no
what I mean? Like
kidding,
it's
right?
almost a no-brainer for you to pitch
absolutely.
this.
Well,
as
and that's the key.
Right.
You need to pitch this.
exactly.
So
Instead of just saying, well, I don't know, good luck.
Yeah, right.
Where's
Okay,
my,
here you go. Thank you.
Where's my $500 for my
You
flower
asked
logo?
for a logo.
Yeah.
I gave you a
Yes,
logo.
Exactly.
See you later.
I'm done. That's all it is.
Huge mistake.
Like,
and
holy
you
cow.
leave so much money on the table
Yeah,
for this.
yeah.
So we got 3 projects here. Okay. 3 projects and how we approach this shit. Okay. So and they're all 3 very different companies.
Yeah.
So number 1, okay, startup. There's a tech startup,
Mm-hmm.
local tech startup. They called up, they said, hey, got a new company. We need a new logo.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So I could have stopped there and was like, sure, tell me about your company. Let me create your logo. Right. So we did a little bit of research. We spent that morning or that afternoon. But the reality is, because we know this space so much, we didn't have to spend nearly as much time as one would think.
Right.
All right. And then instead of just saying, yep, we'll do this, right, we looked at who they were. We looked at, what their industry was like. And we realized, what their short-term goals were. And yeah, they were strapped for cash. They were like, look, you know what? We only have so much money.
Yep.
And we've got to do this for at least a year to start getting business in, right? And then we'll come back and we'll spend more money. But the reality is, giving them a logo is basically setting them up for failure. Okay? Because they needed more than the damn logo, right? They needed to show that they weren't just a startup and that they didn't have to worry about just making it for the next 12 months because they were already established, they were already going, right?
Yep.
We needed to give them enough material that they could look like an established company.
Right.
And so that's what we sold them. We're like, look, if I just give you a logo, that's fine. But then you're going to take that logo. It's
not gonna work.
You're going to make it look like shit because you're not going to lay it out properly. You're not going to size it up. You're going to do a really bad job in social media, right?
Yep.
And you're going to quickly take this really cool logo and make yourselves look sized, make yourselves look small, and right? There goes your brand.
Yep.
So, what we did is we pitched them a group of items. Okay. So we said, we broke down the project into more than just a logo. Okay. We still gave them the option. Okay. We broke it down to a price for a logo.
Yep.
Okay. A price for a brand guideline. Okay. And then a corporate identity package.
Like a tier package.
Okay.
here.
Well, no. Again, corporate ID and corporate ID. What I mean by that is, like a email signature,
Oh, okay.
Banner,
Oh, gotcha.
a LinkedIn header,
Right.
Okay, the right messaging. We came up with their PowerPoint presentation, right? We designed all their corporate identity materials, anything that their customers are going to see while they're pitching them.
It's going to look.
It's going to look like this. It's going to look the same. It's going to look professional. The message is the same, right? So we gave them, and then we gave them a social toolkit.
Oh,
okay.
nice.
So we didn't actually design all their social media. Okay. We designed one campaign for them. And then we went in and we created them an editable slicks in PowerPoint. I know that's horrible, but at least they could get in and they could create their own social posts thereafter.
Yes.
Okay. In PowerPoint and then export them and then upload them as they were, right? So we created them a social toolkit. Okay.
Yep.
We gave them tiered pricing. We said, look, okay, if you want just the logo, it's $5K. You want the brand guideline thereafter, so everybody knows how to use your logo in your company and they don't bastardize it. That's $3K.
Yeah.
Okay. Corporate ID package, which is now your logo in all these other scenarios that you need, $5K. And then your social toolkit was another $3K. Okay. So in total, okay, if they would buy everything and pay for it all together, it was like $15K.
Right.
Okay. So we cut them a little bit of break if they bought everything at once.
Right.
Which they did.
Yeah.
Right. And again, so that was the breakdown. And in all fairness, if you break down the hours, I think I don't want to, say what it broke down to hourly, because that's not necessarily what we were charging for.
Yes.
But dudes, like it was definitely, it was okay.
Yeah,
It was pretty good in that sense, right? Not that you gauge it that way, but it was a profitable job because we knew what we were doing. We knew what they needed.
Yep.
And that's the pricing, the actual pricing that we gave them for this. It was perfect for them because now they had more than, although it was more than they initially wanted to spend, they now had everything that they needed, so they didn't have to think about marketing.
Right.
It was automatic for them. They just rolled it out.
Yep.
Okay. So that was that job.
Nice.
Job number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a large, established B2B manufacturer. Okay. So they're, a giant company. Okay. Very big company. I think they're like a $500 million company in everything they do, and they're global. Okay. And they started a whole new project. It's a whole new division that they were going to, not only launch at the facility here, but then at their US facility and then their European facility. Okay. 3. And it was initiative, right? And they needed a logo that was going to be implemented across. Okay. Spearheaded. And all they had for us was the name.
Yes.
Okay. So we dug a little deeper. So bigger customer, used to spending better bucks. Okay. But you need a little bit more research behind this one. Okay.
It's not just an afternoon.
This isn't an after, and we knew that going into this. This wasn't a guess. We were like, look, this isn't a simple 2-week gig, right? We needed to do a little bit more research. We needed to position them better, right? And so we knew going into this, pricing it out, that they would definitely need more upfront. Okay, they're going to need, obviously the logo part itself was the same, right? And then they're going to need some more rollout material thereafter.
Right.
Okay. So we dug deeper. Okay. We did the research. We did the discovery part. Okay. We actually changed their name versus the shit that they gave us, because it was really bad.
Wow,
they gave
really?
us. Yeah. And they were good with it, right? The research, because the research showed this, right? So again, upped our salary just a little bit more in this project, right? They needed a logo. They absolutely needed brand guidelines because it was going across the world and different locations.
Right.
Okay. Obviously, they needed corporate ID package because they needed PowerPoints, and all the emails had to have the same look and feel. It had to be consistent, right? And a social toolkit, which really just comprised of everything they needed for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. Pricing for this customer, a little different. The naming process, $10K. The logo mark itself, $10K, even though the process itself was exactly the same as it was before, right? It was just the information, the studying beforehand we did.
Yes.
The brand guideline, $12K. The corporate ID rollout, $8K. And then the social toolkit, $12K.
Yeah.
And then I think we gave them like a 10% break if they did it all together. So it roughly worked out to $50K in total, right?
Yeah.
And again, that was the whole idea about we charged them $50K for a logo. Not really. But I mean, I guess one could brag that way, right?
One, you could say that. Yes.
Yeah. And again, the reason why it worked is we took our 1, 2, 3 part. We realized we needed a lot more up front.
Yeah.
It allowed us to see a lot more problems, which then, we actually took advantage of afterwards. We renamed the company, which we were able to bill for, right? And this all came afterwards.
Right.
So worked out perfectly, our process for this.
Nice.
And then number 3, okay, so this is now that whole outlier that, sometimes people are like, well, what about just for something simple like this? We had tech company number 3. Okay, so they were a well-funded company, but they were still in growth stage.
Right.
Okay. They had a big team already of 75 people, but they needed an internal badge for their HR because they were developing an HR program. Okay. So they wanted something that they could use internally, that they could, promote internally, create themes around internally, but it was basically an internal logo.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that they would just use themselves. Right. we didn't need a lot of research in the sense of how they were going to use it because of what it was. All we had to do is come up with some better ways of how they can use it. Okay. So our initial research and discovery phase, because it was an internal badge, we didn't have to worry about competition.
There's no competition in
it was
there.
Just, It was just, let's make something look fun and edgy like they wanted.
That's right.
But how else could they use it? So then we came up with it. We figured out how it could look on a t-shirt, on some internal banner stands, potentially, on like a flyer if they wanted to do something internally. Just fun ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. And because it was literally more or less, other than, an hour of thinking how we can actually use this, right? That's all the R&D we needed, right? The logo design itself, was the same logo that was used on the website, on a t-shirt, on mugs.
Yep.
And we created a simple banner, which was, the logo, a person, and a tagline.
Right.
And we charged $2,500 for that.
Yeah.
And again, that was probably no more than a day's worth of work?
Probably not.
Right? Maybe a day and a half tops, going back and forth with revisions. It was a small amount of work.
Yeah.
But again, it was fun and it didn't require a lot of upfront.
Exactly.
So when using this 1, 2, 3 system, part, process, whatever you want to call it, right? You have to gauge the customer's needs. Okay. Number one, you have to gauge the customer and all the other, factors that we talked about initially, right?
Location.
Are they large? Are they small? Location, how big is this going to go, right? And then you have to decide for yourself, is this going to require a ton of upfront research or very minimal?
Yeah.
Okay. Then from there, you've got your price of roughly how long it's going to take you to do that logo in the middle. And again, if you're really slow and it takes you 50, 60, 80 hours to do it, well, then, you got to speed up the process a little bit on that. But you should have an idea, on repeatability, right? Process-wise, how long it takes you to create a logo itself.
Yeah. Once
you have all the information. And then anything roll out afterwards is gravy.
Yeah.
So this is the process that we use. This is how we price. And again, 95, 98% of the time, I actually can't remember the last time we got a no, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's once we've gotten into our groove, once we got our niche going, it's just been, yep. Which maybe means we are not charging enough. But I think we're charging just fine for what we're doing, in all fairness. Not really worried about that part, but some people online might say, charge those prices, double it up. Then I got to do more of a song and dance. So this is how we do it. And again, whether it works for you or not, can't say for sure. I hope you can get some parts out of this.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, I don't see anybody actually giving away their process and talking frankly online about how they're actually getting to this stage.
You never see this kind of stuff. Like the only thing I've seen that's closest to this was that ridiculous Pepsi book, that brand book that they had. You remember? It's like, okay, well, that would make it worth $1 billion.
Yeah, geez,
whatever the fuck that was.
You know what? You'd have to pay me $1 million to read that cover to cover.
I know,
it
but it's like some of the stuff was ridiculous, but they fucking did their research.
Oh my God,
Like
right? Or they told a really, really crazy story.
Yes, or whatever. However it was, somebody spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, boy, did they.
Yes,
Holy
yes,
cow.
but you're right. It's like the cans and the signage and all this kind of stuff.
That's where the money
That's
goes
where
on
the
these
money
projects.
goes, yeah.
So don't feel discouraged if you hear certain people are charging 25, 50, 100 grand for Logo Plus, or you hear these crazy stories about hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not the logo they're paying for.
That's right.
It's the rollout, the overhaul, the brand identity system. It's everything thereafter.
Yeah.
So there are factors that, some people might charge, $2,500 for the logo design, where some people, in all fairness, I wouldn't, if it wasn't an existing customer, I wouldn't do that for $2,500. And that's 100% honest, right? We did that because it was internal, it was fun, it was easy, it was light.
It's light.
And it was an existing customer.
Yes.
But if somebody came off the street and was like,
and said this, then you'd
I need a logo for $2,500.
I don't know.
If I didn't see any upside, and this sounds horrible, but
no, you're right.
I always beeline to, is there going to be more work? Right. What is the other work going to look like? Are there bigger problems to solve?
Yes.
Otherwise, and this sounds horrible, a $2,500 logo doesn't excite me.
I'm not getting out of bed for $2,500.
Wow. That sounds so true. It sounds so bad, but it is true.
It's true. But because of this other company, because of the established relationship,
Yep.
and because of our huge principle of customers for life.
Yep.
This is the kind of things that they'll look at us and say, "Oh shit! If we need something heavier, we're gonna go.
We're gonna go back, right?
Going to zfactor.
If somebody was to just randomly come up and be like, "This is my budget. What can you do?"
Yeah.
Remember when I kind of questioned the company if right off the bat they're like, "This is all I have for logo." It's just like, well, then you're valuing the logo at this price point. I don't necessarily think that that's how I view logo.
It's back to that startup. It's
back to that startup mentality, right?
You're gonna fuck it up if I do this for you.
Exactly, right? There has to be more to it.
Yes.
Right. And again, even that startup was a good price.
Yes.
For what was delivered.
Yes.
And they were repeat customers. They were another company that exited, and now this is a new startup. And could they have afforded more? They absolutely could have afforded more.
Yep.
Was I going to gouge them because I know they had a successful exit? I was like, you know what? This is still a startup.
Yeah.
This is, they're going to work on a budget. They're going to try to make it work.
Yep.
I'm going to, obviously give it to them in their budget, right? And they're gonna recognize that.
Yep.
And what happened? They've come back now with a third company, and they're like, "Hey, we need more work over here."
Yes.
So again, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's
right?
great. Customers for life.
I don't look at that single logo. I look at the rollout thereafter.
That's
right.
right.
If it's going to be outside of a relationship, and then customers for life, fucking rocks.
Fucking right. Yes.
All right.
That's how you do that.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's great. This is the reasons behind what you hear when somebody pays $211 million for a logo.
Remember that.
Yes, it's not just that logo.
Yeah.
Thank God, because some
right.
of these logos are pretty
Some of them
pretty
are
questionable.
Bad. Going back to that Moosehead one, I don't know what they paid for that, but I would like to find out.
I'm gonna have to keep staring at that because I don't know.
You might actually like it.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
Looking at it a second time,
like it's really haunting and beautiful. Like a
well,
moose.
it is. You are right.
Whereas this line drawing thing, that's really good. I think both of them are awesome.
Geez, Shawn, you know what though? Like, I think you're onto something there.
You think?
Because I looked at it a second time, and people are going to be like, "Oh fuck, can you guys just make a stupid decision?" Sorry, guys.
We're Canadians. We can't.
But you know what? I guess looking at it, maybe it's because I looked at it like a half an hour ago, and now I'm looking at it again, and I'm like, oh, there's something familiar about it.
I don't hate the old one, though. I love the old one. I think it's fucking awesome. That big logger, like, that looks great.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Nice.
You know what? Let's look at it again tomorrow and see how we feel.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Seriously, let's see how we feel.
I'm going to do that. I don't like
He's going to do it with breakfast. His breakfast beer.
Going out to buy 2 for tonight, eh? I'm gonna get her done.
Get her done.
We'll take her for a rip.
All right, everybody.
That was awesome.
I hope you liked what we gave today. By all means, try some of this if you have questions, if you want to know how to actually tailor this, or do it for yourself and just take parts of this. Hopefully, this will give you some sort of guidance on how we've priced out projects, and it has worked well for us. I feel that we've always come, like we've done great internally. They've all been profitable, and customers tend to appreciate the pricing thereafter. And there's always more work thereafter,
right.
and this is always our goal when we go into a project like this.
Exactly.
And don't fool yourself. This is exactly what everybody else does, and how they get these astronomical figures for their rollouts.
That's right.
So with that being said, you know where to find us. We're on Instagram. We're now on YouTube everywhere. All of our podcasts on YouTube. We'll have a couple more visuals on this Moosehead logger there on our YouTube. Check it out.
And help us decide.
Yeah, right. Let us know what you're thinking, right? And I do want to thank underconsideration.com because it's their logo that we actually got this from. It's their website, and so check out that site. It's amazing.
This is always confusing because isn't it brand new?
Like the website is under consideration,
You're right.
But the section that is always under is brand new.
Yeah.
So I think it's just part of the under consideration website. I know. Branding.
Yeah. God. Come on, guys.
All right, everybody.
All right.
With that being said. My name is Massimo.
And my name is Shawn.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.